how are you? I am Ross Twiddell from Cultaholic, your reigning and defending Cultaholic heavyweight champion, and welcome to all these AEW WTF moments from this week's Dynamite. And once again, fun bloody show, wasn't it? Now, we'll not go over everything that happened during this episode, but the one overriding thing that took over me, like a case of smallpox right at the end, was just how much emotion there is in professional wrestling here today. On one side, of course, we've got Edge and Orton and stuff like that, and then on AEW's side, Cody Rhodes' segment with MJF. It hit you in all of the feels, all of them. Now, you might disagree with me, and if you do, good for you for having a backbone, but I got all of the feelings of Tommy Dreamer in ECW when Cody was taking his lashings from MJF. It was a bloody good segment to close the night. Let's do the moments. WTF! Now, if you were to have asked me before last night's Dynamite kicked off, Ross, what is one thing you did not expect to see on AEW Dynamite? I would have said that TNA Heavyweight Championship. But it's there, so it's in the vid. Now, in the midst of what was a really fun match between Jon Moxley and Ortiz from the Inner Circle, Jon Moxley hit the back of his head on a barricade in an AEW match, and we know what happened the last time somebody else hit the back of their tet in the middle of an AEW match. Oh no. What do you know, Jim Ross? Shouts Le Champion Chris Jericho in the direction of Jim Ross. I've got people on the inside, I have, Jim Ross replies. So that's how he's still in that commentary seat then. He should have gone by now, shouldn't he? Harsh but fair there, as they used to say on Pro Evolution Soccer. John, the sign man, no standing, please be seated. There's not one set of rules for you, man, then another set for everybody else, you naughty boy. I feel like a school teacher, me. Now, I've got to say, I was not comfortable with Excalibur calling Yuka Sakazaki the debuting Yuka Sakazaki. Yes, she was making her Dynamite debut, but the way Excalibur said that completely disregarded the history Yuka made back at Double or Nothing last May, when she proved she's got the greatest theme in professional wrestling history. And it also disregarded an instance where AEW provided me with one of the biggest WTF moments of all time, when AEW did not use that theme at Fyter Fest. Oh. Jim Ross versus Names hits new heights or new lows, depending on your perspective, when he called Scorpio Sky too cold Scorpio. Oh. Now, for my money, Jim Ross's best work in AEW so far was while Scorpio Sky was ascending towards those tag team titles in that tag team tournament right at the back at the start of the Dynamite years. We'll call them the Dynamite years and years to come, won't we? So there, I've started it. But the story Jim was telling, the emotion Jim was emoting, the bloody passion and all that malarkey, that was Jim Ross at his best, and it added to Scorpio Sky's ascension to winning those titles. So after all of that, I thought it was safe to assume that if Jim Ross was never going to get a name wrong, it was going to be the name of Scorpio Sky, but that happened last night and I just don't know. Immediately I was thinking, why the hell is Too Cold's name in Jim Ross's Britt to begin with? And then Jim tried to cover his tracks by saying, oh, I spoke to Scorpio Sky earlier in the day. We were speaking about Too Cold Scorpio. How am I, Jim? What a coinky dink that is, eh, Jim? And I've got to ask the question, when was the last time Jim Ross commentated on a Too Cold Scorpio match when Too Cold Scorpio was Too Cold Scorpio? It beggars belief, I've got no idea anymore. And then we have a direct quote from Jim Ross soon after, where he said, "This is not Too Cold Scorpio, I'm not that senile yet." All due respect, but let's move on. And next up, we have a rather sad and somber moment when Excalibur gives it the beans and says, nobody kicks out with a Falcon Arrow. But Tony Schiavone doesn't get the reference and says, well, Frankie Kazarian does. Ha 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 ha. Oh. And then during one of the commercial breaks, which you get to see and hear on Fight TV, if you've got access to Fight TV and don't use it, you're a numpty. But during one of the commercial breaks, we got to hear Britt Baker cut a devastatingly boring promo where she was taking the piss out of the people in the front row, and in particular, that big lad in the purple shirt. Oh, you've all got bad teeth, said Britt Baker with all the enthusiasm of Linda McMahon. But after she finished speaking, we heard Excalibur say, hey, Tony, I hear she's got a thing for fat guys. And then Tony replied, didn't you tell me she was dating a fat guy? And Excalibur replied, she still is. And I know this is a reference, another throwback reference to the PWG days, but Adam Cole, you do not speak about Adam Cole like that, because Adam Cole is gorgeous. Jim Ross versus Names continues now, and it's got to the point where I'm starting to believe he's doing it on purpose. He wasn't to begin with, but he realised he can't do anything about it, so now he's taking it to, I don't know. Now, as we all know, Jim Ross is always going to struggle with a name like Yuka Sakazaki. That's how you say it, Jim. So imagine my surprise when Jim got her name wrong. He said Yuka Sakazaki. I think that's what he said. Whatever he said it wrong. But that is not the biggest issue here, because AEW, where the hell is that theme? That's the second time you've not given me what I want, and you know what happens if you don't give me what I want? Ric Flair gets hurt. Now, as you know, I write these WTF moments in chronological order, so just forget about everything I've said there, because the theme returned after Yuka won. She's the modern day Mankind. She comes down to the ring with one theme, then she wins and exits the ring to another theme. But that begs the question, if you can use that theme, why not use that theme all the pissing time? Because as I said, that theme is the best in professional wrestling history. No questions asked. And I don't know about you, time for a bit of hack theory. I was picturing Kenny Omega thinking, hey, I like these Japanese ladies. I'm going to watch this match to see how good Yuka is. And he heard that music and he said, if Yuka wins that thing, no way, Jose, do you play that bollocks you played her down to the ring to. So with a real and proper hard gun in his hand, pointed right towards the head of Tony Khan, Kenny Omega ensured that the right music was played after she won that match. You can take that to the press. And we have another direct quote from Jim Ross this time when he says, well, not even I can misidentify the bunny. Give it time, Jim, give it time. So going off that name slate there, it would appear that Hangman Page is no longer in the Elite. And I guess this is something that must have happened on a recent episode of Being the Elite on the YouTubes, something AEW assumed that we have all seen. Because last week, if I remember correctly, Hangman was sort of, high fives and handshakes, begrudgingly a part of the Elite, once again being tag team champions, of course, with Kenny Omega. But then again, I can't remember last week's show very well, and I didn't go back and research it, so I could be wrong. Whatever the weather, that took me by surprise, it did, so it's in the video, okay? Is that fine? Back to Jim Ross we go once again, and this time he claims that Nyla Rose is just too much woman for Riho to cope with. And this claim from Jim Ross left me asking one question. And Jim, what about the time Riho beat Nyla Rose in singles action? You were acting as if that match never happened. And I've got to make it a WTF moment, even though we all know that Kip Sabian has been feeding misinformation to Justin Roberts. They've bloody gone all the way in their pronunciation of Norfolk. So much so, I can't even repeat it on these videos anymore, because we will get demonetized and we will go out of business. All I can say is it rhymes with door duck. And then back to happenings during a commercial break we go to once again. This time all three commentators are acting like they've never seen a woman's arse before. And I don't know about you, but I reckon they have. So why were they acting like that? And then towards the end of the match, out of nowhere, Jim Ross shouts, "Whoa, Penelope, she's got blue eyes!" Because he was looking elsewhere. However, man, lads, the Dark Order can stop heartburn. Who knew? And I've just worked out in my head that that must mean the Exalted One has to be called Gavin, because you just know that when the Dark Order household gets a business call from some dirty, horrible people who want to do business with them, sexy, svelte, evil Uno will simply say... And then we get to the final segment of the night. The emotion, the drama, the feels, everything is ramped all the way up to 20, never mind 11. But the biggest WTF moment of them all happened. Normal Brandy's back. She wasn't in her Nightmare Collective getup. She wasn't endlessly burying talent, nonsensically burying the people she's trying to build this company around. Oh, she's crap her. She's just a woman in face paint. She's not an alien. None of that bollocks. She was actually doing something worthwhile that added to the storyline of Cody taking the lashes. His real life wife dropped her gimmick, came down with tears in her eyes. It was fantastic stuff. It would feel like the Nightmare Collective is no more. But what a segment to close the night. And I know that people who like to take sides and make a war where there is no war will say, wow, Daniel Bryan and Bray Wyatt, they took more of a beating and Cody Rhodes sold it more than them. but you're missing the point. You can shove that up your arse. Cody is well on the way to being the biggest babyface in professional wrestling today. So much so that a fan attacked MJF when they were running through the crowd. Of course it might be a plant, but still, seeing that happen only added to what we saw beforehand. Oh, lovely. It just all felt real, didn't it? A wonderful job done by all. And Wardlow, I know we haven't seen a second of him in the ring in AEW so far, but the way he cracked that belt over the back of Cody, he's hard as piss, isn't he? But that's it for all the moments for this week. As for next week's show, we've got Riho defending her title against Nyla Rose. We've got the eye for an eye match with Santana and Moxley. And we've also got the tag team titles on the line as well. Bumper show. I cannot bloody wait. I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. Let us know what you think in the comments below. You can follow us on Twitter at Cultaholic. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Cultaholic. And if you enjoy what we do here at Cultaholic, you can play us to our Patreon page, patreon.com/Cultaholic. Hit subscribe and join us.